Chances are you guys heard about this abomination that was the border bill, okay, the attempt by the Senate to go ahead and curtail all of the illegal immigration some 4 years after it would have been useful. But hey, better late than never, right? Until you look at the text of the atrociously large bill and realize actually didn't do anything of the sorts and was just simply sending billions more dollars abroad to Ukraine and our greatest allies. And well, in a brief moment of understanding, Mitch McConnell, oh, the old cocaine Mitch, okay, the old turtle extraordinaire, he decided to, oh, this isn't necessarily a good thing for us. So all this did right here was just simply expose more rhinos in the Senate and send everything right back to square one, where Texas is looking after their own border at the threat to their own federal government. That's why the feds should be disbanded. Minority Leader Mitch McConnell made the shocking decision to recommend Republicans block the advancement of the Senate pro-migration border bill. The first procedural vote was set for Wednesday. It is unknown if Majority Leader Chuck Schumer will forge ahead, although that is likely. McConnell cited overwhelming number of Senate Republicans planning to vote against the measure, either on substance or because they wanted more time, according to Punchbowl News. Longtime Republican leader has spoken in favor of the deal and did not express any personal hesitations about the legislation to his colleagues. According to Punchbowl, McConnell said the political mood in the country has changed since the negotiations began a month ago. At the time, McConnell and Democrat leaders agreed to pair foreign aid to Ukraine and Israel, of which McConnell is the Senate's greatest champion with a border compromise. Same goes for our greatest allies. Democrats, although also generally in favor of aiding Ukraine, and they're kind of somewhat split on Israel. Stalemated, yes, war against Russia used McConnell's fervor for Ukraine aid against Republicans, dangling a proposed border compromise in exchange for aiding the European nation. Chuck Schumer touted close work with McConnell. I got a bipartisan effort that's over here. Leaked details of the secretive deal, which McConnell's chosen Republican lead negotiator, Senator James Lankford, who, when I first seen news of this, it's like, oh, Lankford's kind of all right, but knowing that he authored this stuff, oh boy, is his reputation going into the drink. And well, even Lankford, who continued championing the deal leading up to Monday night's Senate Republican conference meeting, would not say in the meeting if he would vote for the move to go forward on Wednesday. Just going, yeah, Lankford says that he won't vote for his own bill on Wednesday, meaning that, yeah, it's not going to happen. They're going to be going back to the drawing board, and this is just simply going to be an election issue because, of course, in an election year, what are these guys ultimately going to end up doing outside of just simply posturing? And we know the guy, the supposed Republican nominee for president, what his stance is on that big, beautiful wall that you see in the background. And all those people, they're great people. I'm sure that there's great people, but they're frankly not sending their best, and they could keep them over there. What his ultimate strategy is, and some of the leaked text of that bill, oh boy, what they were threatening to do with some of that stuff, bringing in 5,000 people a day and then just placing them all about the country. Gee, sounds a lot like what they're doing right now, but just with copious aid for our greatest allies abroad. But for as embarrassing as this bill is, quite frankly, it's not the worst look for some members of Congress out there. First and foremost, you had Ilhan Omar a little while back made her proud Somalia first claims. It's like, interesting, okay, for all the Republicans, even, the ones that are just relegated down to Florida, because guess what, Ron? You're never going to be president. If even they're outraged by her comments, which, to be fair, if you place them in context, look a little bit better. But then when you play more of the context, realize that, oh no, yeah, really doesn't care about America. But let's be honest, Ilhan Omar has never been a pro-America individual. She is one of those subversive agents that are just trying to be a disruptor for very, very ill, but for the greater Western population. But what did she end up saying, and why is little Ron so pissed off? While calls intensify for Representative Ilhan Omar to resign from Congress after saying she puts Somalia's interest above all else, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is going one step further, demanding she is deported and stripped of her U.S. citizenship. Well, you can go ahead and make those claims. Now that you will never have to follow through on them. DeSantis sentiments are the most severe. The backlash that ensued over the weekend with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Oh my God, ever one to just stump and try to to fundraise off of something, calling her a terrorist sympathizer, and Donald Trump Jr. lamenting that the U.S. is not even in the top 3 of her priorities. Yeah, video emerged of Omar's speech in Minneapolis on last Saturday, where she declared that she's Somalia first. Expel from Congress, denaturalize, and deport, said DeSantis, who dropped out of the 2024 presidential race in shame, right before, what was that, New Hampshire? Yeah. After he won second place in Iowa, ahead of the other person that's just too, well-funded to drop out. Anyways, Representative Omar is a member of the progressive squad of lawmakers in the House who have really fallen from grace. Wow, they really haven't done much lately. And what about their ringleader? Wow, she's just, she's really forming into a nice establishment hack over there. Nice set of tits. Not a lot of brain power to work with. Who emigrated from Somalia in 95, said in Somalian that her home country, and the entire speech was delivered in her foreign tongue. Is it really that foreign in Minneapolis? You just have to wonder. Is her top priority when legislating in Congress. Her second priority, according to the translation of the remarks, is Islam. Okay. But okay. All of this outrage that's out there, okay, and especially with certain war profiteers that have been proliferating Congress more transparently since, early October. Just go ahead and throw a date out there or something like that. People openly saying that they are, our greatest ally first, and that they will go ahead and put their specific religious preferences above all else. Why is there no other calls for anybody else to be expelled from Congress? Words are hard sometimes. Even though, what was it recently? I don't even know if he just, let that slip purposefully or not. But some presidential candidate, he was out there saying that there's no level of Congress that isn't controlled by, well, the less I say about that, the longer I can stay on certain platforms. But don't worry, guys, for the squad. It gets worse. Calls for reparations for Black Americans. Now we're on reparations. Yo, man, this entire video is quite a political whiplash. Fell apart due to intense opposition by the American people. Squad member Cori Bush, yes, the fattest one of the bunch, who championed payouts, faces a DOJ probe, and task force became a national embarrassment. Oh, no, you're telling me that there's a corrupt politician, a corrupt socialist politician, a corrupt progressive politician. My stars and garters. Reparation advocates had their wind in their sails last year. Cities across the United States set up teams to hash out plans to compensate Black people for a legacy of slavery, just like California, who never had state-sanctioned slavery, but, hey, Gavin Newsom will do anything for votes. Squad member Cori Bush, a Missouri Democrat who has championed payouts, well, yeah, of course, because she's fat and lazy, is under investigation for campaign spending violations. Oh, wow, I thought that would be the only mention that I make to AOC. Well, I guess the caramel apple doesn't fall too far from the tree for her bid for a $14 trillion federal compensation package. Yeah, it seems to be dead in the water because it looks like she's embezzled that much. A reparations task force in Detroit, a hub of African American culture. Do you really want to claim modern day Detroit for yourself? Strange tactic, but all right, has descended into shambles of quitting and infighting. Well, yeah, there you go. Well, okay, maybe it is an accurate depiction. Anyways, California Black lawmakers this week backtracked on plans to pay $1.2 million to each resident. Oh no, you're telling me progressive politics are falling completely by the wayside? You're telling me that the Democratic way of life, all of their far left ideologues are falling flat, or in Cori Bush's case, on her fat face, right in time for an election when their ultimate boss, their big slobbering disaster in the White House, is reaching record levels of failure and approval ratings. Color me surprised that the chickens are finally coming home to roost. And no, Cori, you can't fry one of them. While many Black voters are keen to get checks in the mail, only a fraction think that they'll see such a day in their lifetimes. Mike Gonzalez, sorry, what? I thought we were talking about Blacks. An analyst at the Conservative Heritage Foundation. Oh, okay, so somebody who would be just, a little bit more in favor of, if you're going to be handing out money, it should be to foreign causes, said that support for reparations peaked amid the protests over the police killing of George Floyd. Oh my God. Think of all of the other terrible policy decisions that peaked around that time and how well they have all fared in the convening years. Very interesting how all of this stuff, when given adequate time to breathe, seems to just fall by the wayside. Now, it is a warning, he added. Like diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, critical race theory, anti-racism trainings, and other features of the collective hysteria, the call for reparations has begun to fall apart under intense opposition by the American people. Yeah, imagine that. You give the American people, you give people in general, regardless of the confines or the boundaries that you're going to go ahead and impose on a certain society, if you give them the opportunity to go ahead and assess the situation, like you have with Ilhan Omar, just like you have with Cori Bush's push for reparations, just like you have with that stupid Senate border bill, people, they're generally going to make the right cause, or they're going to make the right decision if they're given the right amount of information. And that right there is dangerous, not just to Republican lawmakers, corrupt establishment Republican lawmakers, but also to their same Democratic counterparts. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.